My wife said, I want us to be equal, and turned our marriage into a feminist chore chart. The night I came home from a long work trip, my wife didn't hug me. She handed me a stapled packet. 3 pages, charts, headings, bullet points. At the top, it read something like, a new structure for our marriage. I honestly thought it was a joke. It wasn't. While I'd been gone, she'd attended a weekend seminar about equality in relationships, and apparently, our marriage had failed the audit. The solution wasn't counseling or conversation. It was a system. She sat across from me, nervous but determined, and explained that love without structure was inefficient, that resentment came from imbalance, and that spreadsheets could fix what emotions couldn't. Section 1 covered something she called shared emotional responsibility. I was now officially in charge of remembering birthdays, scheduling visits, planning holidays, sending cards, all the invisible things she felt she'd been carrying alone. Section 2 was a chore matrix. Every task had a value: dishes, laundry, groceries, cleaning. Everything added up to a perfect 50-50 split, updated weekly. Then came the part that almost made me laugh. Rules about how I should speak, how I should sit during disagreements, what words I should avoid so I wouldn't dominate the conversation. She watched my face closely and said, very carefully, I know men usually get defensive when their privilege is challenged. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I nodded. You're right, I said. I'll follow this exactly. Her expression shifted instantly. Relief, pride, even excitement. She thought this was growth. What she didn't realize was that I was about to take her system more seriously than she ever expected. The very first morning, she was responsible for coffee. I waited. Nothing happened. She came downstairs late, irritated, and asked why I hadn't just made it. I slid the packet across the counter and pointed to the line she'd written. She rolled her eyes and rushed through it, annoyed and stressed. That was hour 1. From that moment on, I followed every rule with precision. No flexibility, no interpretation. When she forgot to plan a family dinner and asked why I hadn't reminded her, I quoted her own language about responsibility domains. When the trash overflowed and she shot me a look, I checked the schedule and calmly said it wasn't my task yet. Every time she got frustrated, I stayed calm, neutral, professional. By the second week, she added new communication guidelines. When I tried to explain how I felt, she interrupted and accused me of using logic to avoid accountability. So I made my own document. Same formatting, same tone. Mine covered finances, she earned more. Technical tasks, things I'd always handled without discussion. And emotional accountability, every time tears replaced conversation, every time silence was used as pressure. When I showed it to her, she said it wasn't the same thing. I told her I was just measuring what mattered, like she taught me. The breaking point came when an appliance broke while I was at work. According to both frameworks, it fell under her responsibilities. She called me, panicked, asking me to come home. I told her I trusted her capability. She spent the afternoon dealing with it alone. When she finally came home, she looked exhausted in a way I hadn't seen before. The next morning, I found her sitting at the table with both documents laid out in front of her. Her hands were shaking. I can't live like this, she said quietly. What followed was the first real conversation we'd had in months. She admitted she'd felt unseen, overwhelmed, small. The workshop hadn't created the problem, it had just given her words for it. She looked at me and said something that stuck. I turned into the thing I was afraid you were. She gathered the papers and threw them away. I added mine. That night, we cooked together without checking a chart. I cleaned without counting points. That was the moment I understood something simple. Real equality isn't measured. It's felt.